There's been a surge in sexual offences in Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape. Gang rapes have also become more common in the rural town. In this in-depth report, eNCA senior reporter Dasen Thathiah looks into what's driving this shocking trend.
Lusikisiki's vast rural landscape is captivating. Residents here will tell you it gets its name from the melody of the wind rustling through the grass. But these days, sounds in the lush fields are not always innocuous.
ndabuza uba mna banothe mabazondibulala bathi bona ayifuni mna loo nto leyo bafuna imali mandibanike imali if uba ayikho imali kuthiwe mabathathe isitofu bathathe ifriji.
3 young men broke into the home of this woman, who we'll call Zinhle, earlier this year.
kuba besebethatha amakhadi bathatha ibhetri babesebethatha ifowuni bathatha igrosari eyayikhona babesebendireyipha abafana abayi-3. omnye wathi seyibambe umntwana ona-12 years kwacakuba uthi omnye hayi makamyeke umntwana usemncinci. bahlala ke after ngo-3:30 babe bephuma bahlala apha phandle ithe xa zithi 2-4 bahamba bathi banike ndakhala bazobuya bazondibulala. ndavuka ke mna ekuseni ndabalekelwa kwankosi.
Although Zinhle's daughter wasn't physically harmed, a little girl next door endured the brutal fate she'd escaped from just a few weeks later. Recent crime statistics show the number of sexual offences and rapes have almost doubled here when compared to the same period last year. It means Lusikisiki has now inherited the dreadful title of rape capital from Inanda in KwaZulu-Natal.
It's reporting that has increased more than that. The rape cases are as many, but the rape cases have been there, but not reported, dealt with within the community. But now the change is that the people are being aware and they've been told that we can, as traditional leaders, we cannot deal with these cases unless they just directly report them. Unless then they do not, then ours as traditional community leaders, we need to report them.
Nkosi Mjoji, who heads the traditional council of Malangeni, says some women are still suffering in silence because they're poor.
You find that the person who is a perpetrator becomes the head of the family or becomes the breadwinner that supports the family, and you find that those who are victims, they know when they tend to report, they are being told that no, you don't report this because we would get hungry if somebody so and so is being arrested.
Kwalo Matandabuzo is the chairperson of an inclusive committee formed this year to tackle gender-based violence and rape. Apart from creating awareness and offering support to survivors, it also looks at what is affecting men.
In my place where I'm working, we have formed an organization called United Men Against Children and Women Abuse, UMACAW, UMACAW. The men themselves, we organize themselves, they organize themselves. We also support the men because sometimes, whilst these gender-based violence are caused by men, there are some psychological things, psychological factors that are actually affecting the men to commit that particular crime.
And like in many other areas, social ills are exacerbating sexual violence.
This is liquor-related mainly because about 40% of these are done after people have consumed liquor. And then there's another one that is actually domestic, related to the families, family-related.
Nkosi Mjoji says he's noticed a spike in alcohol-related incidents with the introduction of the COVID-19 grant, which he feels is being abused.
All these guys, they get this money. Mostly, they get this money, get it together. They've got such a big amount. They get into drinking situations, and got accidents, we've got death, we've got whatever.
Zinhle is one of 84 people raped in Lusikisiki in the first 3 months of this year alone. That's close to one every single day. Although months have passed, her nightmare is far from over.
Emva kwayo yonke le nto ndalimala kakhulu emphefumlweni, zange ndive kube mnandi, kwakunzima ukwamkela enje. Sentshona ngoku inhliziyo yam ayikaxoli ncam. iWest kona xa ndimane ndibabona because ndiyababona ukubabona oku apha ekuhlaleni. Omnye wabo umfana ndidla uthi xa ndidibana naye andigile avela atheleka apha kum.
Police have not arrested anyone despite her identifying them, and she's angry. But the SAPS says it isn't that easy.
Due to the modus operandi which was used by the suspects when the crime was committed, it became a challenge for the victim to identify the perpetrators. Even when the victim tried to identify the suspects, the information provided was not sufficient for the detectives to make any arrest at that stage. Nevertheless, the investigation is continuing.
Zinhle was forced to abandon her home, but she doesn't feel any safer.
Ukuze abantu thina singabantu abangomama sikhuseleke kule ndawo, abantu abangootata bambalwa, uninzi lwethu sihlala sodwa singabantu abangomama, abekho ootata, and abafana bakhetha le mizi ngenabo ootata. Into ebendiyirhalela mna ugovernment noba angengeza amapolisa bendikupatrolwe and kube safe and itravel zivale kwa early siye kuvala ebusuku.
Her wishes are not likely to be granted immediately, though.
Lusikisiki police station is servicing a number of rural and administrative areas with some in mountainous landscapes. This sometimes poses challenges to police officials, as some villages are not even accessible with police vehicles, while some homesteaders are far apart from one another. Nevertheless, the police are doing their best to ensure that people receive their services regardless of the inhibiting circumstances as indicated.
Dasen Thathiah in Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape.